What it do, chat? We are back and ready to jump into what will be our final series of the day. The B stream, they still got so much more action, but we're coasting and we're sitting pretty right now as we jump into that final match of the day as the Slimy Boogermen are fighting for a chance at revenge over top of the Renegades, who just fell in a 3-map series after picking up a big win map 1. Renegades fall short in map 2 and 3 in the first strike closed qualifiers presented by Nerd Street Gamers. My name is Bach. I'm your host. Shift, Avril, TSM just secured their place as the number 1 seed out of this group. But let's be real. Can the Boogermen find a big win here over Renegades and shock a lot of people by being an underrepresented, non-salaried team and make it into the playoffs? Shift, what do we got?
I mean, they've done well so far. That needs to be, I think, addressed in the first place. A lot of people, when we saw the opening rounds of the open qualifiers, said that they weren't going to get past Cloud9 White. They were able to do that and then still get the chance to play up against Cloud9 Blue. And guess what? They still were able to find a map versus Cloud9 Blue. So yeah, these guys are absolutely contenders in some form or the other. Specifically, though, for this matchup, when you talk about what they've done versus the Renegades in the past, sure, they lost to them in their opening matchup 0-2, but both of those maps were terribly close. So to answer your question, yeah, absolutely. If they make their way into this team will have just as many eyes, just as much recognition as your China Wins, your Homelesses, teams like that in the past. They're potentially the next ones up.
Slimy Boogermen, by the way, would end up being the first unsigned team to make it to the top 8 here because Spot Up are gone. So the possibility for an unsigned team to make it that far is certainly ahead of themselves right now. They are a team that have been kind of overlooked a little bit. They've been underdogs in basically every single game they played. You would have probably looked at the Slimy Boogermen versus the BBG game and thought, well, BBG should have the advantage here. Slimy Boogermen won that one as well. So I think going into this matchup, it's Renegades that need to be a little bit worried. Again, they come off a big loss to TSM where, yes, they did get one win, but the 2 maps that Renegades did lose did kind of hurt there. So Renegades need to kind of consider where their mental state is. The Slimy Boogermen will be looking for the opportunity to strike, and this is going to be a very important opportunity for both teams.
Now, it's also important for us to look at the map pool as well. You will get that up on screen as soon as we possibly can, but I can't help but point it out, even if I'm jumping the gun just a bit here, as the map pool does have some crossover with what we saw them play previously. We're going to be starting on Bind, which they played earlier when they matched up against Slimy Boogermen, and Renegades and Slimy Boogermen, they played Ascent as well. Now, I'm not sure if Split was in the map pool, but it wasn't played as it was a 2-0 series. And I'm assuming that was also the case there. I would assume that Split was potentially that 3rd map. It just didn't end up getting to it.
It was Haven, just so you know.
Oh, it was? Okay.
Yeah.
Interesting. So we'll get to see kind of a repeat of what we saw before, but there is a bit of a mix-up in that Split is there in between. And that is a coin toss as to what could happen, because we've already seen Renegades play on Split. And Shift, what were the takeaways there?
They were clean. They were polished. They were everything we wanted them to be after we had only seen Renegades play up against the Slimy Boogermen from yesterday. That's not great news for the Slimy Boogermen. On top of that, your first map is Bind your box. So the fact is, you lost this map to Renegades the first time you played. Again, it was close. It was very close. It was 10-13, and there were some rounds that were very uncharacteristic, finding the team that won in 2v4 situations that they were able to clutch up against. That's where we started to kind of paint the picture of for Renegades. They need to be more convincing on their retakes defensively. They need to be more solid on their post-plant setups when they got the spike down. But that same topic also carries over to the conversation for the Slimy Boogermen, because it was not exactly the most polished game of Valorant we've ever seen.
The most interesting thing about this map pick right now is the fact that Haven was banned by Renegades. So if you look back at what the TSM game was, Haven was technically better than Ascent, but Ascent's still in the pool. Renegades feel that they could do better on Ascent. They want to play it again. Haven is the one they don't want to go back to.
Well, we're just about ready to jump into it, so I guess I'll get a quick prediction from both of you. Avril, is it going to be a quick series? We go on all 3 maps, and who's going to be taking it?
I think it'll be a 2-1. I'm feeling Slimy Boogermen this time around. I think they are coming up really strong. They had a good performance versus BBG. Renegades looking a little bit shaken.
And I think, for me, Slimy Boogerman definitely did look a lot stronger versus Built by Gamers, including in that was a 13-6 on Split. So I hesitate to kind of piggyback on the same topics of conversation that Admiral just pointed out, but you got to be feeling pretty good about this bounce back, I think, if you're Slimy Boogerman, considering that you did get a chance to get warmed up on Split just earlier. So we'll see how things unfold. This will be the Slimy Boogerman on offense first. Instinct, we've seen him make this aggressive play over towards the lamps area of A quickly, he will do that once more, and Renegades will not be here defensively immediately. Winsome has actually put out a beautiful paint shells. It will find a kill, but the spike does get planted, and honestly, Winsome could consider maybe trying to start this defuse and get it to halfway as he's got teammates nearby to help.
I've definitely been more impressed with Winsome on the Raze than the Reyna so far. The rest of Renegades are here indeed, as you say. It's Lamps control that needs to be the priority for both teams right now. Dev has that under control for now. Retro trying to challenge on the other side, and it's becoming a 3v4 situation. Retro a little bit low, a little bit tagged up. Time is now in the favor of Renegades as they have the numbers as well. They get the defuse started. Spike has been tapped, and Welshi all on his lonesome.
Oh, but the Nano Swarm is here. It'll stall things, but it doesn't actually get all the way to half. There might be an opportunity here if Welshi can win the first kill. He's not able to do it, and CP2, who's forced to stick, will be able to securely defuse the spike before it became too much of an issue based on time alone, and with that, Renegades will take the first round.
Expecting some fireworks to come through on Bind against the one map, but that we didn't get to see Renegades versus TSM on. The first matchup, the first time we saw Slimy Boogermen face up against Renegades, Bind went 13-10 to Renegades, and Slimy Boogermen did take the pistols there. It ended up being a 6-6 in the first half where Slimy Boogermen were attacking as well, so perhaps looking for a bit of a repeat of that. This time the pistol does go the way of Renegades and an instant force up by the Boogermen. Not wanting to waste too much time here.
We've seen a lot of teams force in the second round on Bind when they lose the pistol. The question just becomes, how early do you read this if you're Renegades, that this is a force buy situation? Dev is going to scout out a lot of information through B along with the Owl Drone, but not have a chance to use this to scout out anything over towards the elbow, which is where CP2 will make use of his Owl Drone over towards long. He'll see two members. Paint shells will fall right in front. Bergie for first blood. He's going to find a second near the end of the clip. Intox able to finally get the trade, but now Renegades will know that this is a force buy situation coming on the backside, and Retro just laying the judge out. It'll leave things just down to Welshi, 1v2, and now he's got a Spectre to work with, and near full HP. This is still doable.
Much more doable considering the fact that it's a 1v2 where he's got a gun, he's got HP in his favor, he's got util, Spike is not planted, he's got control. They're looking for the isolation kill to Retro, but it will be the judge coming on through. Headshots acquired by Retro. Spectre picked up there as well. Renegades, they defeat Boogermen on their force buy, and now this could be 3 in a row as the Slimy Boogermen back on towards pistols, and Renegades get a nice early lead.
And those were rounds yesterday that Renegades would throw away, right? I mean, we saw so many instances where they're up 4v2s, really for both teams. They would have numbers, and then all of a sudden, the team at the disadvantage would find ways to pull things back. So a little bit of encouragement here. The fact that Renegades took a double shell onto Welshi late just to secure the round. They don't let him get too isolated 1v1s. And now Anderson trying to move forward, has to deal with the boom bot. Retro going to find use out of the Bucky for one, but Intox for a trade. But after everything is all said and done, it will actually be Renegades who come away with the trades, and Winsome makes use out of a pretty unfortunate bounce off the wall with the paint shell. Still catches two players off guard, and Renegades walk away with the third.
God, he got so lucky with that, didn't he? He completely misfires the paint shells, ends up having to run forward because of that, and it somehow awarded 2 kills. He's like, all right, I'll take that. I mean, what a good way to make a great situation out of a bad one. And for Renegades, the expected 3 does come through. Boogerman didn't walk into that one with any guns, so can't get too excited about Renegades being able to clean up there. But this is the important one now. Boogerman have delayed their round 3 gun round to a round 4 gun round instead. Guns for Renegades not looking great just yet. Obviously, they've won 3, but they haven't had a chance to repurchase just yet. We'll see if they can get this bonus underway.
And even for the Boogermen, they aren't able to fully get into armor or utility. There's a number of members who are near zeroed out in their economy. And as Bergie tries to make a play to teleport her over towards Hookah, he will just shrouded step over to safety, which will now leave Renegades with 3 members defensively on B. Despite the whole time, though, here for the Boogermen, are actually still sitting over towards their spawn over towards caves. So no real commitment for them here yet. Just trying to find some picks, find some information, and everything will reset with 1:05 to play.
So Intox does have Rolling Thunder available, by the way. Lockdown for Welshi in play 2. This is where Boogerman might want to start leaning over towards A, where the possible setup for the Rolling Thunder could come through. There's 2 defenders there so far. Renegades are looking for a little bit of information, and now the rotation comes through. This is where Bergie discovers nothing on B. Time is running out. Boogerman need to move now before Renegades arrive.
Instinct could have tried to challenge. Shotgun nearby, and Retro takes use of it for not just 1, but a second. Well, she eventually for the trade, but it comes later than you'd like. Winsome and Randy with 2 kills behind that with the Spectres, and this has not gone well at all for Slimy. They lose their gun round, and with 4 members surviving for Renegades, these are all free upgrades for them going into round 5.
Renegades are firing up right now. This is going to
Yeah.
be 5 in a row fairly soon as well. Boogermen have the ultimates to work with, but they don't have the guns. They're going to force buy into this one. Well, she thought about going into the hero rifle. Decides against it in the last minute here as well as Renegades. What an important round to win, and Retro at the top of the leaderboard right now, 7-2. That judge has come through so massive. Doesn't pick up the 3k in lamps, but a 2k is enough there. Fast rotation from Renegades. Bergie walks down B long, discovers no one there, and the read from Renegades is correct on the defense, and it gets them another important round when Boogermen right now, multiple ecos in this first opening areas of the half.
And for Slimy Boogermen Unbind, they played it a lot throughout their open qualifiers. They average around 50% of their attacking rounds victorious. So you have to find a way to get 6 at some point in time if you're trying to hold that statistic up. Rolling Thunder going to come through. With this, a lot of traps for the Cypher. Instinct for first blood, though, as Randy will fall. But still, members will lurk onto sight. That's actually going to be Winsome. He finds himself 1 kill, reads the second one for free. No one expected that. Here's number 3, nearly gets a chance at a 4th, but CP2's also still playing from the elbow. Spike is on site, but has not been planted as of yet. They get information on the breach after that fault line comes through. They try to get a flashpoint pushed up through the middle, but Bergie and Retro are able to capitalize on kills from behind, and the Slimy Boogermen, they spend a Rolling Thunder and get absolutely nothing with it, not even a plant.
Well, I mean, they do get kills, and they just can't convert onto any more than that. I don't mind the Rolling Thunder in some cases because you have ultimates to play with here. It ends up being a quote-unquote kind of free, or at least a cheap ultimate, considering you still have Lockdown and Hunter's Fury for the next round. And you want to try and get something done on the ecos. There is the positive, optimistic side of things where if you put the Rolling Thunder in, and that secures you B, that drops you guns as well, that's how you can get a winning situation from an eco. Doesn't go their way, though, as we head into number 6 now. Renegades 5-0 up, operator in the hands of CP2 this time, as 2 possible players walking into his sightlines.
Aldrone will be here. He looks for the peak more than just the kill on the Aldrone, and he won't get what he was looking for. So he'll back away. Threat of the operator will be established, though, for the Slimy Boogermen, and there's an opportunity in CP2. Nice little quick scope on the Instinct for first blood as he survives with 7 armor and 79 health points to both.
Yeah, both players very dangerously there. I mean, Instinct could have gotten that kill as well, but CP2 just a little bit too quick on the trigger pull, will connect the shot required. A lot more players over towards B, and this is where Retro arrives. Here we go, the rotation's in play as well. When some on the rotation coming through from the back of Spawn, but CP2's cleaning up for a 5v2.
Well, she has to make a play. He snuck over towards Lamps. There might be an opportunity to him to find a kill or 2, but the spike is still down all the way back towards Spawn, so someone's going to have to back up and grab it, and it's going to have to be the Sova of Dev. Not going to get a chance. And as well, she will find 1 kill. He will get caught a little bit with his knife out. Bergie will clean things up. Perfect start for Renegades. 6-0 up, only dropping a single member, and the operator has already established itself as well.
And Renegades coming through from that loss from TSM. I talked about them potentially being shaken. Absolutely not. Shaken to success. Maybe they're fired up. They're getting real hot. 6-0. What a strong beginning. They look great on their first map versus TSM 2. So in this best of 3, we'll see how much the momentum gets carried forward. So far, the momentum on Bind, though, is all in their favor. They get another great gun round. Slimy Boogermen have to save again, or go for at least a half buy here. Boogermen have ultimates, and this is another round where, I mean, you've only got 6 left to play with here. I mean, that's a quarter of the total rounds you could be doing here, but at the same time, do you want to start putting in the ults? Lockdown's going to be taken away from Welsh, and Boogermen are down to 4.
I mean, you just kind of compare and contrast this instance of Bind in this matchup compared to yesterday's. You never would have thought that the game yesterday was even remotely close. This has been so clean for Renegades. Sidestepping away from the paranoia is Retro for 2. He's feeling the flavor. He wants number 3. He'll tailwind forward to grab it. Now the double blast pack play trying to come through. Intox trying to hold his life. Will eventually hit a shot, but he's down to 8 HP, and Renegades are just running at the Slimy Boogermen right now.
Really kill hungry right now. CP2 cleans that one up. probably for the best as well. You see Retro coming through from the backside, doesn't need a 4th kill, already has a Blaze Storm available, so from a macro perspective, handing over the number 5 kill for that round over to CP2 to get that Hunter's Fury online. Much needed. Renegades now 1 tick away from getting 5 ultimates. It's total overkill, as the Boogermen have failed to secure any rounds in the opening half so far. They have 4 ultimates available here. They have guns finally. The money is still really, really awful, all things considered, and the Boogermen need to find something on this first half.
You just talk about the potential of the players you need to popping off early for the side of Renegades. Winsome being one of those. You mentioned the difference between his raise versus what he's been able to do on the Reyna. He's even starting to run forward with the Showstopper. Won't find anything with this, but he clears so much space. And now as his teammates are actually trying to follow up behind this, there's an opportunity for them to win the opening trades, and CP2 will finally make sure that comes to be, but it is a 3v2 situation, and I don't know, man. Avril, I'm just kind of in a position where I don't know if you need to credit TSM for waking up Renegades or credit Coach Jay for coming through and fixing up the Renegades problem from yesterday to today, because this is looking like a totally different team in the last 24 hours when we last saw them.
Yeah, I mean, if we look at it in a vacuum as well, if you just look at Split, that's definitely true. I do want to see if Renegades can keep it clean, though, because, you know, this map is so far looking pretty darn good. They have to make sure they don't lose this 2v3 situation. TP's going to come into play. Still 40 seconds remaining. Renegades are going to get outstepped for now, as the Boogermen should be able to get a plant off the back of it. Have some control into Hookah as well. This can be a good post plant if they can keep their 2 players alive. Importantly, the Hunter's Fury needs to be coming into play. I say Hunter's Fury, not the one from CP2, although that's going to be good. It's the one from Dev into Hookah that's going to be important, as Dev actually goes towards the Octagon instead.
Showstopper early for Instinct. Paranoia comes through. This comes out blindly, and Retro will punish. So now you just need to scout out where is Dev. And now his position will be known. Recon Bolt comes out. Can you bait out this Hunter's Fury? He's actually going to stick for a halfway defuse. And now the double chow comes out. That's a beautiful play for Renegades. You stick it, you get halfway defused, you get off the spike, you double chow his position, force him to bail away from the Hunter's Fury. And even if he does, you still have a 2v1 gunfight that you should be able to at least trade. And these are things we did not see from Renegades yesterday. That is why this performance, not just in the opening map versus TSM, but also here versus Boogermen, has been so impressive. They don't want to miss out on a playoff again in a major tournament, and they're looking pretty primed to at least get their first step on the way there as they are up 8-0 in this first map.
Dev actually got scared out of his Hunter's Furies there because he didn't even spot anyone challenging him yet, but he assumes, okay, if I hit the first shot, the guy's defusing, the second guy's going to be running directly at me. Speaking of running directly at the opponents, Retro wins some. First 3 kills cut out nice and quick. One more player still alive. And Intox, he's shaking right now, he's sweating right now, and Winsome is going to be able to clean things up. Renegades for 9, and the Boogermen, slimy as they are, not slimy enough to fall through the fingertips of Renegades once again. So this is the cleanest Renegades have looked since, I guess, Split versus TSM. And Boogermen at this stage in the game, I'm starting to think back of where they found their successes originally versus Renegades yesterday. Even though they lost the maps, even though they went down 0-2, they got a lot of rounds there. They get like 10, 13 versus Renegades on bind. They haven't even got 1 yet. They need to go for some sort of eco win because they at least had eco wins versus Renegades before. Yep. They're not even getting that now.
That was the big difference maker. We talked about the fact that Renegades should have probably cleaned up those 2 maps easier than they did in their first matchup versus the Slimy Boogermen, but there were just so many 2v4s, 1v3s, different clutch-up moments with odd-man situations. The Slimy Boogermen were able to kind of take their advantage, and now all of a sudden, Renegades might be a little bit trapped here over towards Shower. Lockdown will be placed over to Lamps. With this, the spike will be planted, but this lockdown will fade just as soon as the defensive retake is about to come out, of which it's a 3-2 split. 2 from the defensive spawn, 3 through Showers.
Rolling Thunder for Boogermen as well. This is going to be quite important. The location of Intox, though, is not the best, to be fair. Want to get him a little bit more off-site, full 5v5 and the retake. And when does the ultimate start coming on through? Instinct this time, where the judge is going to find some early value, possibly up for a second kill now. It's going to be Randy Savage that confirms it instead.
Retro from on top of the site, he's actually able to find 2 kills, leaving it to a 1v2 for CP2, but with the operator and not a lot of time, he'll likely just back away and save the weapon. And finally, the Slimy Boogermen will get on the board, but At the moment, it looks like Renegades have gone back to the pharmacist, renewed their Mucinex prescription, and they've dried out the Slimy Boogermen so far, as this has been an incredible 9-round still for Renegades.
Oh, it just comes down to Slimy Boogerman using that lockdown on, you know, what ends up being pretty much a force buy here. They have, 3 rifles, Stinger, Judge, minimal armor on most of those players as well. They get a full 5v5 on that post-plant. Ultimate still in play in terms of Intox saving that Rolling Thunder. Full control into Lamps. Instinct with the Judge ends up getting a kill as well with their Judge. So, Slimy Boogermen did what they needed to do and successfully got a plant going. Not that they haven't been able to plant before, but they've not been able to plant and then still have full numbers afterwards for a post-plant. Let's see if CP2 finds anything early.
Aggressive peek has a little bit of help, at least for a moment, but the fault line will push him back, and with that, Renegades will give up the majority of this hookah control. CP2 throwing a shock dart over towards B long, thinking there could be someone pushing out, and Winsome's going to go ahead and make his way through this dark cover. He's got a player to his left, though, and Anderson's able to find a free kill. Slimy Boogermen looking to take 2 rounds in a row.
Well, Renegades still have 4. It's definitely not cause for concern just yet. It is going to be a bit of a disadvantage. CP2 can try and swing things back in his favor, but he needs to hit shots like that. Well, she's going to make things that much more difficult. Intox on Retro as well. And now this is where Renegades definitely are going to be struggling this round. I don't know if they can win it anymore. 2 versus 5. It would have to be a miracle. They would have to be able to get quite a number of kills here and try and delay or stop the plant.
Plant will come through successfully. Anderson will catch a shoulder, but doesn't win the gunfight versus Berkey. That's going to open up some space. This would be a 2v5. Randy up top to Heaven. In a position to where he might be able to find one down low on the quad box. What are we looking at right now, Slimy Boogerman? Randy Savage finds another. Here are those 2v5 moments that we were talking about from yesterday. Berkey's going to toggle. They know they have the challenge. He's going to be able to find 1 kill. Aftershock comes through, and Berkey is able to clean things up. A 2 versus 5. Renegades still find a way to win, and they're up 10-1.
Slimy Boogerman, what is going on here? They had everybody alive. 3 early kills. Renegades with a 2v5 retake. They don't stop the plant. They don't even really delay it, but they do get the kills, and that is incredible. The first one on Anderson is what gets the ball rolling, and the kills just keep on coming through. Renegades for number 10 on a round that surely should have gone the way of Boogerman. And now, this is definitely Boogerman staring to the face of defeat for Bind.
It's just so many times I feel like as I went back and rewatched, the biggest phrase that we said were, that cannot happen. That was the most used phrase that we used in this matchup yesterday, and we're going to have to pull it out here once more because that simply cannot happen if you're the Slimy Boogermen. Too many individual 1v1s on the retake attempt. Berkey's going to actually commit to this from the shadows to take away the exit from B long. So the only actual exit, unless you're going to attack B, is to go to the teleporter. And I don't think anyone knows that Berkey's here. That's the spike that's already down. He's got an opportunity for maybe a second kill just across the corner. Flashpoint's going to come out. He'll know that and then try to respond. But Intox, fortunately, will find a trade.
A lot of information as well. You can start to see the rest of Renegades pushing up now. Over from A short, over from B ramps as well. They know it has to be either showers or B long, and it certainly is going to be B long. Here we go. Things are getting nice and heavy. Randy Savage down. No trade, unfortunately, for the side of Renegades. Showstopper in for Instinct is not going to connect either. Renegades are just going to have to go for a bit of a retake here. The 1v1, though, over towards long. It's won by Winsome and the teleporter now to try and get the spike over towards A.
Anderson's stuck on site. I don't know, though, if Renegades realized that the Omen player had gotten a little bit more aggressive than the rest of his team, and, well, CP2 will watch it. He will grab the kill. So now Instinct for a 1v3. 20 seconds. And that shock dart just barely doesn't connect.
That's a read.
Holding the angle of CP2. This is the first shot. Goes to the classic. Also falls. You hear the showstopper that's currently out, and, well, nothing that you can do there if you're Instinct. And that will be 11-1 for the first half. Incredible news here for Renegades fans.
I mean, look at Renegades and what they do even that last round there. CP2 reads the fact that it was going to be a fake plant for Instinct, or at least the possibility of one. Just take a look at the instant replay by GoPuff here. This is such an important and such a decisive half coming through from RNG after falling to TSM in the way that they did. Showing that full confidence is still in there. They are definitely not mentally shaken. look at these kind of plays. Like, this is the kind of thing that you can only do when you have full confidence versus your opponents. And it feels like we're not even phased after that loss from TSM. It feels like, you know, Renegades are straight back into action from where they were on Split, just picking up the pieces there and putting them back together, building up that victory. And the Slimy Boogeymen with only 1 round win, it's not looking pretty.
And I'm not going to say that this map was a must-win here for Slimy Boogermen, but based on the fact that Renegades just looked as cleanly as they did versus TSM on Split, which is what's coming up next, you're not going to feel great about that. Although, that said, the Slimy Boogermen have also played very well on Split, so we could get a battle there, but this was the Slimy Boogermen's pick. They picked fine, and for them to only have 1 round right now, not great. Nanostorm will actually confirm a kill onto Winsome. Retro pushing through. He will find a trade back, so we got a 4v4. Still a lot of energy being thrown over to B, but no spike commitment yet. And unfortunately, Randy Savage will also drop. That was actually the lurk play over towards A. So now it's just going to be down on these weakened member for Renegades to try to clean things up around the site. And they so far have done that. No trades coming through. Retro, who was down to half HP off of his opening engagement, finds 3.
Well, the last player alive, Anderson, on 22 HP, being heavily tagged up via Randy Savage, the lurk player on A. Is going to give Retro number 4 for this round. And importantly, that's going to put Retro up quite a lot for the Bladestorm. And I don't even know if it's going to come out because that's it. 12-1, that point achieved. Boogerman needed to win the pistol. If they failed to win the pistol, they give Renegades the 12. And now we're looking at a situation where Renegades are just going to buy up as much as they can. They're not going to be conservative here at all. They know they only need 1 more. Boogerman are going to have to go for the force buy. And, well, Boogermen like to force buy anyway, but this time they don't have a choice in the matter.
Oh, man. We're going to get a little bit of a cheeky setup. Bergie's going to maybe try to play with the spike through the middle here as Anderson is taken down to 3 HP. Intox will take down Winsome, but that weapon that was purchased up will be grabbed by a different member. Randy going to almost catch a shock dart, but stays alive. Meanwhile, the rest of the interactions that are coming through are actually favoring that of Renegades. Long flank, as we saw from what is going to be Welshi. He's going to go through caves, and this is going to take a year and a half for him to get here to help his teammates.
They don't have much equipment to play through either. I mean, technically, Welshi could maybe pick up something dropped on the floor over towards short. That is if CP2 can shut him down first. Ends up being a freebie. So Welshi coming on the backside is doing a decent amount of work now. Bergie with the opportunity to maybe turn things back around. Welshi will have a gun now for sure. And that is a lot of damage being confirmed via Shock Bolt as well. This actually looks fairly winnable for Renegades now. Sorry, for Slimy Boogermen.
Wait.
Assuming they can get Retro, but that is a big ask. Retro needs to connect some shots with the Blaze. Can't do it. Welshi for 3, and the defuse goes to Intox.
I'm not gonna lie, Retro almost gets a blessed kill. The kill that he got in that spray was actually onto Dev, who was all the way back over towards Showers. He had Welshi down to about 1 bullet, and you saw him try to make the play for the Bladestorm just to confirm the potential kill onto Intox, who was going for the defuse. But he nearly almost gets blessed there with the random bullet that hit the head of Dev deep, but unfortunately cannot close things out there. So Renegades, after going into, like you mentioned, an unconservative second buy round, will now actually be on a light buy here in round number 3, and there is opportunity for Slimy Boogermen to start streaking here defensively.
Stinger available for Winsome, so let's see what Renegades actually do on this eco. They got plenty of rounds to burn, not that they would want to, but Slimy Boogermen need as much to work with as they can possibly get now. Retro down, that's been the top frag of Renegades taken care of, so working on the rest of the numbers. The Slimy Boogermen have reinforced towards A. It'll be a straight up 5v4. No, I lied, CP2 is going to walk back towards B.
Winsome's in a great spot, and as Randy finds a kill, he's going to get information on a second, but gets caught trying to pull the pin on the paint shells. Shock Dart will provide some damage into Instinct, who's trying now to push forward. Welshi, another elimination. Blast Pack actually confirms that a nice little flick there to hit the head of CP2. So it's just down to Bergie for the 1v4. Frenzy to play with. He does have the spike, but he'll actually be flushed out by the paint shells of Welshi, or pardon me, of Instinct, and that will be enough for the Slimy Boogermen to confirm the round that they, again, should have.
And 4 alive there as well, which means they keep most of the good guns in there. Including the Judge. Ray's Judge is always fairly strong. We'll actually take this into the next round as well. Now repurchase as necessary. Renegades, after getting that pistol, looked like it was just going to be theirs. I mean, a 12-1 scoreline. Boogermen are going to be able to pull 2 back. I think the bigger question now is, as much as this is good for the Slimy Boogermen for now, can they actually get 9 more rounds in a row to force an OT? Renegades still have such a massive advantage.
Boombot will find some value. Winsome's paint shells will likely confirm. That will be the case. Flashpoint came through just a touch too late. And an opening first blood for Renegades. The spike is not with this hit, though, as 2 Owl drones will meet right outside of B long. Information will really not be found for either of those Owl drones, though, so as Winsome tries to commit forward, he'll see the shock darts come out. Does he expect a player to be in the dark cover is the real question, as this timing is great. Now making his way forward, he'll see the weapon. There's number 3 for Winsome. 4th member coming out of the defensive side at spawn. Timing here, though, not great, and it's just down to Welshie for what would need to be a 1v4. Spike planted behind this, and Welshie is going to try to go for a lockdown play, and that will not last all that long as Retro was waiting for the peak, and Renegades take map number 1 convincingly, 13-3.